we're just waiting right until 5, because once I put these tokens out, everybody can rush up here and get them real fast. You can click them, run through them, hit them with a fairy wing, whatever you need to do. If you don't have a token HUD, let me know. I will find somebody that can help you get a token HUD. Welcome in, welcome in. Oh, you're good, Annie. I know you're lagging. All right, get your little shoes and your wings ready. I'm rezzing out these tokens, okay? Make sure your HUDs are on, all right? And then we will venture into the fairy realm. Okay, there's 5 tokens down here on my little froggy plate that I doodled for Relay for Life. Right down in front. Hopefully you can see it. Dougie! You're welcome, you're welcome. Hey, B, welcome in. Grab a seat when you can. Is everyone ready to go back into the realm of the Superfairies? Woo woo! I'm ready, wings and all. Callie getting close? Oh no! No! Okay. You think she's gonna be able to hear in a couple minutes? I don't want her to miss story time. Come in, Princess Tiger. Okay. Come on up, Callie. Let's go, let's go. Callie's gonna be with me, y'all. Because I'm coming through as a whisper. Hopefully I'm not coming through as a whisper for anybody else. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Put your baby hands in the air. Alright.
Woo!
Woo! I know Ghost's here. That's the only person that woos. Loud and clear. Okay, good. Alright. Let's get into it. Superfairies, The Adventures of Peaseblossom Woods by Janey Louise Jones. Illustrated by Jenny Poe. Oh! Martha the Little Mouse. Well, ain't that cute? We got our table of contents. Chapter 1, The Rainbow Storm. Super Fairy Rose was busy in the cherry blossom tree, making a skirt from golden autumn leaves. Meanwhile, out in the woods, Martha the Little Mouse and Susie Squirrel held hands and danced around in circles under the big oak tree. It had been raining heavily all morning, and now a huge rainbow was in the sky. "It's quite sunny now. Shall we go off on an adventure?" suggested Martha. I'm not sure," said Susie Squirrel. "Mom and Dad said there's going to be an autumn storm later." "How could there be a storm when the sun is shining?" giggled Martha. "Grown-ups exaggerate in things. Let's explore." The girls set off along the woodland floor, looking for somewhere to play. They heard familiar voices. "That's Basil the bear cub and my brother Sidney," said Susie. "Let's see what they're up to." Girls teamed up with the boys and chased each other through the woods. "Autumn is so pretty," said Martha. "I love the golden leaves and like all the berries and fruits." But before long, raindrops fell through the copper-colored trees. Plink, splash, splatter. The rain got heavier very quickly. It spilled onto the carpet of leaves as if a faucet had been turned on. Crackle, splish, sploosh, splash. A cold wind whipped angrily through the woods. Whoosh, swish, flap. The sky became very dark. What happened to the sun?" said Martha. "It looks like the sky's frowning," cried Basil Bear. Martha looked up. "Oh, look! It's an autumn queen flying over the woods! Wow!" "Yes," said Sidney. "She's bringing a big storm with her." "Oh, she's beautiful," gasped Martha. "But I'm scared. Why does she have to bring, like, such an angry storm every autumn?" "Because she needs to shake off all those leaves for winter." Explained Basil. "The trees have to sleep while we do, and while they're sleeping, the new buds of spring start to grow. They couldn't be green all year round. They would run out of energy. That's what my dad told me, at least. He knows everything." "I wish I could just, live in summer. It be summer all year," said Martha. "I just love sunshine." "Oh, that would be so boring," said Basil. "I love storms. This is exciting." "I don't like it. I think I'm going home now," said Martha. "I want to be safe and cozy with my mom and dad." All the young animals began to scuttle back to their families for shelter and food. "See you later, Martha," called Susie as she went off in the opposite direction of her best friend. Chapter 2. Martha in Trouble. Oh no, y'all. That night, as the Super Fairies snuggled into their cozy beds in the cherry blossom tree, the wild storm raged around them. "Oh, I hate storms," said Rose, as the wind howled oh and whistled, making the whole blossom tree sway in the wind. "It should be over by morning," said Star. "Good night, everyone," called Silk. "Good night," said all the super fairies. But ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling. "Ah, the animals need us!" cried Rose. "I will have to be brave for them." Rose took courage from the other fairies. They wrapped up warmly in their autumn cloaks, and then they flew out through the wind and the rain to the fairy copter. They climbed inside. "Rose, what does the strawberry computer show?" asked Star. "It's the poor little mice," said Rose. She examined her computer screen more in depth. "The wind has blown the roof off the mousy house, and they're freezing. Hurry up. We can bring the mice back to the cherry blossom tree in the fairy copter and make them cozy here for the night," suggested Silk. "Yes, indeed. We have plenty of space for them. We'll give them pumpkin soup, hot chocolate, and iced gingerbread," said Rose. This could be a bumpy ride," said Berry as she started up the copter. "Hold on to your hats." The other three super fairies held hands. "Ready for takeoff?" announced Berry. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, go, go! Berry used her super eyesight to steer the fairy copter safely through the storm, but it was a choppy ride. The fairy copter fluttered into the east and to the west, to the north and to the south, but Berry managed to steer back on course, using the big gusts of wind to power them. They soon landed in front of the mousy house with a tremble, a bump, 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 and a thud. The whole mouse family was huddled together in a corner of the roofless house. "Thank goodness you've arrived," said Mr. Mouse. Little Martha was delighted to see the super fairies, and she ran toward the fairy copter excitedly. "No, Martha! The wind's too strong. Stay in here," called her mother. But Martha was already out on the woodland floor. "Thanks for coming, super fairies. I hate storms," said Martha. But with that, whoosh! A gust of wind whisked the dainty mouse up into the air and twirled her around wildly between the branches. "My baby!" cried Mr. Mouse. They all watched helplessly as Martha began to spin, tumble, twist, and twirl. She flapped around in the tree tops with the autumn leaves circling her. "Super fairies to the rescue!" cried Rose, finding her own courage at last. She flew from the fairy copter out into the windy woods. The fairies held hands, and they fought against the wind as they fluttered towards Martha. But as they got close to her, a fresh blast of the wind swirled the feather-light little mouse off in the opposite direction. "Help me!" cried Martha as she was whisked out of reach. "We'll save you," called Silk. Martha was carried in the air through the woods as the super fairies and now the mouse family followed her, and other animals in the woods became concerned too. The squirrel family watched Martha twirl over the treetops. They were so worried that they too got close to the edge of their nest, and it tipped up, falling down from their tree, and the squirrels fell with it. Bump! The nest and the squirrels landed on the woodland floor. All the squirrels were a bit shaken up by the fall. "Are you all right?" called Rose. "Yes, we're fine," said Mr. Squirrel. However, Susie Squirrel, who was best friends with Martha, got very upset indeed to see her friend twirling about the tree tops, and she began to sob. "I will climb to the top of the tallest tree and try to reach over to Martha," she said. "No!" cried Berry. "It's far too dangerous. Stay with your parents, Susie." But the little squirrel set off regardless, longing to feel useful. She scurried to the top of the oak tree, held on to a curving branch. She leaned out over the wood, stretching as far as she could towards her best friend. The super fairies hovered in between Martha and Susie. Susie was determined to take hold of her friend. "Take my hand, Martha," she called as the little mouse continued to flap around the sky between the trees. "Please!" Martha tried to reach for Susie. Their arms were outstretched towards each other. Nearly touched. Almost, but not quite. The Superfairies gathered around Martha, trying to scoop her up in their arms. "I'm so tired," called Martha. "We're doing all we can," said Rose. She blew healing kisses at the little mouse. Mwah! Mwah! There was a brief break in the gusts of wind, so Martha dropped down below the treetops where it was more sheltered. The Superfairies managed to gather around Martha now. "Stay in close to her, guys," advised Star. The fairies guided Martha toward the branch that Susie was on. "Come on, Martha, you can do it," said Susie. "You'll soon be safe and cozy if you just reach over to me." With Susie's sweet voice in Martha's ears and the Superfairies guiding her, she finally made it to the branch of trees. What a relief! Chapter 3. Pumpkin Soup. Pumpkin. "Hold on, Martha," cried Star. "Hooray!" cried all the animals on the woodland floor below. "Oh yeah! Woo!" The mouse family danced around in circles. "Wait on this branch," said Barry, "and I will go get the fairy copter, and then you girls can hop in." "Yay! We get to go for a ride in the fairy copter," said Susie, hugging her best friend excitedly. They wobbled on the branch. "Whoa!" said Susie. "We don't want to fall off now, do we?" "Exactly," said Rose. "So be very still and careful until Barry arrives." Silk called to the animals below. "Everyone make your way to our cherry blossom tree, but hold hands as you go and be very careful of the wind. Just go in and put some logs on the fire, will ya?" The Superfairies helped Martha and Susie into the fairy copter, and then Barry flew everyone safely back to the cherry blossom tree. "Whew, I don't know about you guys, but I'm exhausted," said Barry as she landed the fairy copter. That was quite a rescue. That was something. "I know, right?" agreed Rose. "Wasn't Susie wonderful? Let's heat up some soup. I'm thinking warm bread, and then we can all sit around the fire, shall we?" Yes," agreed Barry. "That sounds wonderful." The rest of the mice and squirrels were already in the sitting room toasting their little toes. The Superfairies got busy warming up pumpkin soup, icing gingerbread, whisking the hot cocoa, and toasting marshmallows. The strong winds raged around the treehouse. Once everyone was served, Rose sat very quietly, listening for the bells just in case. She looked in deep thought. "What are you thinking about?" asked Silk. About how much harm this storm is causing. And what can it," said Rose. The Superfairies invited the animals to stay overnight with them. "Make yourselves at home," said Star. Meanwhile, Rose called a meeting of the Superfairies. "What's wrong?" asked Barry as they gathered round the kitchen table. "I think we should all go to see the Autumn Queen now," said Rose. "Why?" asked Barry. "Yeah, what for?" wondered Star. "We need to tell her that this storm, this one right here, is hurting the animals, and she'll understand," said Rose. The Superfairies decided that there was no time to waste. "Shall we wear our formal cloaks?" asked Barry. "Of course," said Rose. "We must show our respect to greet the great queen. We should not anger her in any way possible." Rose continued, "We need to find her in kindness. The colors the woods with gold and copper. It ripens the harvest so we can eat in the winter. I know it's there." The Superfairies tucked all the animals into bed with a cup of hot cocoa. "But we have some work to do," explained Rose. "But you rest well and let us hope the woods are calmer by morning." "Good night, and thank you so much," said Mrs. Mouse as she held Martha close to her, and they snuggled up for the night in one of the Superfairies' spare flower beds. The fairies then brushed each other's hair until it was smooth and shiny. They dressed for their important visit to the Autumn Queen's corner. Rose wore a silver cloak and her silver crown. Star wore a golden cloak and her golden crown. Silk wore a lilac cloak and her lilac crown. And Berry wore a ruby red cloak and her ruby red crown. Rose led the way as she held hands and fluttered through the swaying trees in search of the powerful Autumn Queen. The leaves from the beautiful trees of Peaseblossom Woods floated around them like golden confetti. The fierce winds were not calming, and the rain still fell. Rose knew they were doing the right thing. If only they could find the beautiful Autumn Queen, Rose felt sure they could ask her to calm this storm. This looks familiar, said Star as they arrived at an enchanting corner of the woods. They entered a pathway leading to the secret fairy throne room. Gold and silver tree branches arched over the pathway. It was perfectly calm and sheltered. There were glowing lanterns hanging in the branches that lit the way to the throne room. I always forget how beautiful it is here, whispered Berry. They arrived at the entrance and looked in. A vast throne of twigs and bronze leaves sat in the middle of the room. But the Autumn Queen was not on her throne. Well, where is she? Whispered Berry. Oh, she'll appear, said Rose. I know it. Nothing happened. The fairies hovered. She cannot be rushed, said Silk. She's super busy, as it's like her own season. Rose nodded. After a few moments, the Superfairies heard a rustling of the leaves. They blinked, and then the powerful, beautiful Autumn Queen magically appeared on her throne. Whoa! Chapter 4. The Autumn Queen. She was majestic. Her long hair gleamed, and her golden gown sparkled. A crown of branches framed her pretty face. The Superfairies all bowed before her. Rose moved a little closer to the Queen. "We're sorry to trouble you," said Rose. "I know why you've come, and I'm sorry about the storm," said the Autumn Queen. "But it's my job to make the trees ready for their winter sleep. I send the winds to bring down the leaves, and sometimes they get rather wild." Yes, of course," said Rose, but the animals are suffering. "I send the rain to make sure there is plenty of water to drink in the winter," the Queen explained. "I try my best to think of what the animals will need in the cold months." She added, "But I don't want to cause suffering. I love the animals, as do you." We know that," said Berry, stepping forward. But we had to rescue Martha today after the wind picked her up, and we nearly lost her." "Oh, that's terrible," said the Queen. "It works some magic." "Oh, thank you," said the Superfairies. "You do very important work here in the woods," said the Queen, "and we are all grateful for it." "It's our pleasure," said Silk. "We work with the seasons, not against them. Oh, no." The Autumn Queen smiled kindly, then nodded her head to show the Superfairies that they should leave. They flew back in a different way. They followed the lines of the river, listening to the owls hooting as they went. Hoo, 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 hoo. By the time they got back to the cherry blossom tree, the storm was starting to calm. "Shh," said Rose. "The animals will be sleeping." The Superfairies crept into the house. "Surprise!" cried Martha and Susie. "We couldn't sleep, so we thought we'd have an autumn party." "Oh, how lovely!" said Rose. The Superfairies all giggled. "Great surprise!" said Berry. "Is that pumpkin soup I smell?" "Yes," said Susie, "and more iced gingerbread." Rose went to lock the big door. She looked outside. The night sky twinkled with bright stars. "Hey, everyone! Look over here! The storm has passed!" she called. "Hooray!" said Martha, while she danced. "No more winds! Ooh, 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 ooh!" "Let's gather around the fire now," said Rose, "and sing some songs. It's time to celebrate autumn." The end of Book 3. Yay! That was getting intense. I didn't know about little Martha for a minute there. I don't know. Whew. Are we ready for book number 4? Oh my goodness, let me look out. Hello! Everybody that I missed coming in, welcome to story time. Feel free to take a seat on one of the lily pads or stand or whatever have you. If you're new here, welcome to Kiwi Lime Story Times. I'm Miss Red. I'm usually a green frog, but I'm a fairy today. My son Annie and I started Kiwi Lime Storytime back in 2020, and we've been reading books all around the grid, pretty much on and off since then. I've got an in-world group down there on the Pat the Rock. If you pat the rock, you get a bunch of swag. If you pat the little frog up here, you get this month's collectible. If you pat Callie Joe, you give her a little head pat. She's sitting here on the leaf. Let's see what else. We've got a Facebook group to join. If you want to stay tuned and up to date on when and where we're reading, we have an in-world group. And if you miss any story times, they're all on the YouTube page. My husband in the back, he helps record. And all the times we read and wherever we read, it's on YouTube for you to watch, use as ASMR, put on in the background. However, waves. Waves! Thank you for all you do. And if you're here and you've never been to CARE before, every time there's an event here at CARE, there will be tokens passed out. If you need a token HUD, let me know, and I can point you in the direction of getting tokens. Yes, tokens! We love anything collectible. Tokens, bears, you name it. Stamps, anything I can keep, put it in my little virtual pocket. It's mine. I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Callie Joe, I'm opening this book. Watch your noodle. Okay. We are coming up on book 4. Can you believe it? We've almost finished out the whole series of the Superfairies. I'm going to be a little sad. I kind of like this group. Crime fighting, animal saving fairy ladies. Okay. We are on the final book of The Superfairies, Adventure in Peaseblossom Woods, by Janey Louise Jones, illustrated by Jenny Poe. We must be in the winter season if last season was autumn, and we are going to tap into the story of Violet the Velvet Rabbit. Table of Contents, Chapter 1, Snowy Fun. A flurry of soft snow fell over Peaseblossom's wood. It covered the landscape like powdered cake. Scrumptious. It was certainly a cold winter. Glassy icicles dangled from bare branches. Twinkling snowflakes clung to the bony twigs. The air was scented by winter berries and spices. The Superfairies of the cherry blossom tree knew that the woodland animals would be cold and hungry. At this time of year, they took extra super care of their animal friends. Inside the Superfairies' cherry blossom tree home, everything was very cozy. A log fire crackled and lanterns glowed. A freshly baked batch of golden honey bread rested on a rack. Superfairy Star busily knitted hats and scarves for all the young rabbits and squirrels. The other Superfairies planned the very last feast of the year for all the animals. It would take place in the cherry blossom tree. Rose read from a menu as she had been working on it for days. "Okay, y'all, how does this sound?" she asked. lentil and cinnamon soup, honey bread with cheese, mushroom and Walmart. Mushroom and walnut risotto. If we're eating Walmart, that's no bueno. Sweet potato bake. Then we have lavender meringues, almond ice star biscuits, orange drizzle cake, and chocolate peppermint creams. Mmm, lovely. And let's toast marshmallows on the fire afterwards and have dancing too, said Star. As you know, she loved to dance. I think we learned that in book 1 when she partnered with the pony. Only at Walmart. That's right. That's going to be the new meme now. Yes, agreed Silk, and we'll light candles and hang garlands of holly. Oh, it's going to be a wonderful this year, said Barry. Let's get to work. Out in the woods, it snowed steadily until there was more snow than any of the young animals had ever seen before. Despite the biting cold wind and their rumbling tummies, the little creatures of Peaseblossom Woods thought that playing in the snow was great fun. Sam Squirrel skated on the frozen lake. Whee! Whee! Bump! It was very slippery, and Sam fell over. But up he got. Martha Mouse caught the falling snow. Snowflakes are so pretty. I wonder if they really are all different. Billy Badger and Basil the Bear Cub threw snowballs. Of course. Ha ha! You miss me every time, Billy! Woohoo! Teased Basil. Sarah and the Fawn made patterns in the snow with her teeny tiny little feet. Violet the Velvet Rabbit and Susie Squirrel made skis from wood. Oops! Susie took a tumble. The ground was pretty uneven after all that snow. Dancer and Cloud, the Wild Pony sisters, pulled a sled through the woods. Will you join us? They called out to all the little animals. We are searching for gifts for the Superfairies as a way of saying thank you for all they do. Ooh, coming! Called all the young animals. The Superfairies are so kind. Let's find them beautiful gifts, said Violet. Yes. What would we do without them? Said Susie. Chapter 2, Slippery Slope. The young animals all set off to gather gifts with the ponies. There are always lovely pine cones as well as pretty snowdrop flowers at the bottom of Snowdrop Slope, said Violet the Velvet Rabbit. Why don't we go there first? Well, do you know how to get there? Asked Cloud. Oh, yes, said Violet. I've been there lots of times. All the animals followed Violet. However, things looked a little different when covered by deep snow and the blizzard was still blowing. This way, called Violet. She waved everyone through the woods, though she did not at all feel confident. Uh-oh. When they came to a crossroads in the woods, Violet was very confused. Well, said Farah, which way do we go now? I mean, you said you knew the way. Well, I mean, I thought I did, but I'm not completely sure now, said Violet. Oh, dear. Does this mean we're lost? Said Martha Mouse. We just need to look for, like, the big slope, said Violet. That's what I would normally do. But we can't even see past our noses because of all the said Susie. Susie looked down the possible paths. Orlando the Owl flew to the top of the trees. I think I can see Snowdrop Slope this way, he said. They all followed his lead. But Orlando was better at seeing in the dark of the night than on a snowy day, and after a while he flew into a branch, quite exhausted. Whew! Whew! You don't know where you are, do you, Orlando? Said Susie, looking up at him. I'm afraid I don't, admitted Orlando. Violet twitched her nose. She thought she could smell some snowdrop flowers. I think I know which way to go, she said. Everybody follow me. But the animals were nervous about following Violet because she had gotten them all lost before. Please, said Violet, trust me this time. I really do know where I'm going, I promise. Come on, everyone, said Susie. Anyone can get lost once. I believe Violet will find Snowdrop Slope. There was a lot of mumbling, grumbling, but eventually everyone agreed to let Violet lead the way. Again. Violet followed her nose through the dark section of the woods. We're almost there, she said. Once they got through the woods, boom! There was a slope! Ta-da! Violet said proudly. At the bottom of the steep slope, they began to collect pine cones for the Superfairies, but Basil found that task a bit boring. Let's slide down the slope, he suggested to others. I triple-double dog dare you. Some of the animals were too scared. I'm in lots of trouble already for, getting carried away by the wind last month, said Martha, so I better not do anything too silly this time around. Scaredy cat, said Basil. Violet, are you too frightened as well? No, said Violet boldly. I'll do it, 'cause, nothing scares me. Are you sure about that? Asked Martha. Wouldn't you prefer to stay and just, watch Basil whiz down, come back? No, he's not only one brave enough around here, said Violet. I'll take my skis. Wish me luck. Martha looked worried. Good luck, Violet. You're so brave, she said. So Basil and Violet climbed their way to the top of Snowdrop Slope. Oh no, said Violet as she looked down the slope. That's a long way down. I'm not even going to think about it, said Basil. You follow me down, wait a few minutes until after I've left, and I see you at the bottom. Could we hold hands, maybe go down together? Asked Violet. No, we might bump into each other, said Basil. And anyway, you have the skis. Don't give up now, Violet. You're so cool for coming up here. You can do it. Basil launched himself fearlessly down the hill. Whee! 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 Whoosh! Glee! This is so much fun, called Basil. I've never gone so fast. I'm gonna try now, announced Violet bravely, getting her skis into position. Don't do it, called Martha. Crawl down carefully, cried Susie. For a few moments it looked like Violet was undecided, but then she made up her mind to go. Ah! She cried as she slipped down the slope, falling onto her bottom. Her skis and poles went flying into the air. Violet raced down as fast as a snowball. Help! I don't like this. Help me! She cried. Oh no! The slope was so slippery. She went faster and faster, and at last she came to a sudden stop at the sharp ledge of the snow. She hung on the ledge, dangling over the deep valley below. Rescue me! She cried. Somebody please, my paws are so cold. I can't hold on here for much longer. Chapter 3. Violet's Big Splash. The log fire danced merrily in the fireplace of the Superfairies' sitting room. The woolly hats were all knitted while the toasty winter feast was ready at last. We know that sound. Ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling. The warning bells began to tinkle. Oh dear, the animals need us, said Star. I was so afraid that something might happen in this dreadful weather we're having. I couldn't bear for anyone to be hurt, said Rose. Superfairies, action time. Pulled up their fluffy winter wraps and pulled them around themselves. Putting on their floral boots, they picked up the warming feather cloak and flew out to the fairy copter. Rose quickly checked on the strawberry computer. Beep, 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 boop, 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 boop. Well, what can you see? Asked Silk. It's showing Violet the Velvet Rabbit hanging onto a ledge of snow. Oh my gosh, she must be freezing, said Rose. I can hardly see with all this falling snow, but I'll do my best. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, 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 said Barry. The fairy copter lifted up into the snowy winter sky. When they landed at Snowdrop Slope, the little animals were huddled together, fretting about Violet the Velvet Rabbit. The Superfairies looked up to the ledge where Violet was in peril. Wait there, called Rose, looking up to the top of the slope. We're on the way. Thank you, called the Velvet Rabbit. I'm really scared, and my paws are about to let go. The Super Fairies set off to get her, but Violet's voice rolling down the hill seemed to have made the snow under her rumble. There was some rippling movement in the snow, and a low, thundery sound grumbled in the air. A great mass of snow began to roll downhill. The tiny rabbit was caught up in the middle of it. She tumbled down the slope, carried along by the fast-moving snow. "Help me!" she cried, her voice muffled by the rush of the snow around her. "I can't stop!" The Super Fairies flew above her, following the little Velvet Rabbit's speedy progress down the slippery slope. Rose tried to stop the snowball with healing kisses, but the kisses all missed. The snowball was going too fast. Silk dropped a ladder, but Violet could not grab it. Star and Berry were able to get closer to Violet, but she was covered in far too much snow for them to grab her. At the base of the slope, Violet bumped against a tree trunk flying flat along the ground and was promptly thrown high into the air, flying in a curve. Where would she land? The Super Fairies followed her anxiously. All the young animals ran toward her as she started to drop down. She was getting lower and lower and lower. Smack! Crack! She landed on the middle of the frozen pond. The Super Fairies dashed to the scene while the animals waited at the water's edge. "Stay still, Violet," called Silk from above. "The ice is very thin." "It's not that thin," said Violet, feeling excited about being so close to safety. "I can make it to land, I promise." "Please, don't move," called Rose, but Violet was too excited and began to bunny hop across the pond. Bounce, 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 crack! Oh no! The ice around Violet broke up and splash! She fell into the freezing pond below. "Ah!" cried Violet. "It's so cold! It's horrible! I want my mommy and my daddy!" Above, Violet and the Super Fairies got into a huddle to plan on how to help her. The little bunny bobbed around in the dark, watery hole in the ice. Whew! Chapter 4. The Winter Feast. Star dazzled the water with brightness so they could see it clearly. Twinkle sparkled dazzled ta-da! "Whew, that's better," said Silk. "Now, go in for her," said Rose. Silk and Berry swooped in toward Violet at top speed, while Star hovered as a backup. They reached down for her, plucking out her freezing little body from the icy pond in one swift movement. The Super Fairy's arms didn't look strong enough to carry the little rabbit across the pond, but luckily the Super Fairies are strong together. "Hooray!" cried all the animals as the Super Fairies wrapped a shivering Violet in the warming feather cloak. Rose blew lots of healing kisses. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Violet gave a great shudder, then a huge shiver, followed by a little giggle. "I think I'm going to be fine now," she said. The Super Fairies smiled with relief, but they had to talk to Violet about what she had done. "You know, it was very silly of you to go to the top of the slope," said Berry. "I'm sorry," said Violet. She didn't want to tell the Super Fairies that Basil had, encouraged her to do so. However, Basil felt guilty. "My fault," he blurted out. "I said Violet would be a scaredy cat if she didn't come to the top." Rose looked very disappointed, which made Basil feel terrible. "Violet could have been seriously hurt," said Rose, "and so could you have. This could have spoiled the whole winter fest." "I know," said Basil. "I won't do anything like that again. I promise." "We'll make sure of it you don't," said Rose. "Let's forget it for now, but be more careful in the future." The Super Fairies flew Violet in the fairy copter back to the cherry blossom tree for the winter feast. The other animals arrived on the sled pulled by Dancer and Cloud, with the older family members following on. Let's decorate the cherry blossom tree now for the Superfairies, said Cloud. Oh, thank you, said Rose. The animals strung garland of berries and pine cones across the treehouse. They placed holly and ivy along the fireplaces and left gifts of nuts and dried fruits. The woodland friends ate the delicious winter feast given by the Superfairies and sang songs around the toasty log fire. After that, the animals snuggled up together for a big sleepover. The next day, the animals had to go back to their own homes for a long winter sleep. Bye, Superfairies! Thanks for everything! Called all the animals. The Superfairies gathered around the fire, nibbling on the tasty leftovers from the feast. Whew-wee! It has been quite the day, said Star. The day? Okay, quite the year, actually. Yeah, agreed Barry. I mean, our rescue skills have been really well tested at this point. Hey, at least the animals can't get into trouble while they're asleep, am I right? Said Silk. That is true, said Rose, but we will miss them so much. Yes, but before we know it, spring will be here, said Star, and we can look forward to that. Yes, said Rose, but until then, let's stay cozy together. Why don't we dance to celebrate a good year of rescues, said Star. The other Superfairies giggled. Star did like to dance whenever she could. Superfairies all held hands and danced inside of the cozy cherry blossom tree. Fairies from the blossom tree, super skills galore have we, carrying in this charming wood for needy animals as we should. Twinkle, sparkle, dazzle, swish, tending animals as they wish. And when a rescue's nicely done, it's time to have some fun. Dancing, singing, twirly glee all around our blossom tree. The end of Book 4 of the Superfairies Adventures in Peaseblossom Woods. Woo! Woo, 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 woo! Man, they get me every time. I always think the animals are not going to do good, and then the Superfairies are there. And they save the day. And it looks like we can find out what Superfairy we all are. So who's ready? I'm ready. I can't wait. I want to know what power I've got. So question number 1. If you had an allowance, would you A, I want everybody to write their answer down, like A through D. And then at the end, we'll figure out what fairies we are. So if you had an allowance, would you A, save it for an adventure, B, buy jewelry, C, buy books, or D, buy hair clips and accessories? So think about that. And type your answer. You can paste it in local chat now, or you can just leave it there. And then at the end, we'll tally them all up. Okay, question 2. When a friend is sad, you A, take her out for ice cream, B, listen to the problem, C, do a favor to make life easier for her, or D, play music and dance? Some good answers there. I'm gonna say, if asked to clean your room, would you start by A, putting away the clothes and shoes, B, putting away the jewelry and bags, C, putting away the books, or D, putting away all your dress-up stuff? That's a hard question. I always work around the room, so you just pick a side and then you just like work around it. It depends. You said A, Callie Jo? Putting away the clothes and shoes first. Okay. All right. 4. You prefer perfumes that have the scent of A, lavender, B, rose petal, C, fruits, or D, honeysuckle? Ooh. That's a hard one. Ooh, honeysuckle. And you like lavender? Okay. Okay, question 5. If your grandma wasn't feeling well, you would A, talk to her about when she was young. Okay. B, give her flowers. C, bake a strawberry cream cake. Or D, perform a dance routine for her. I think I know who's heavily influencing most of questions D. It's the pony and Star. That's a hard. These are getting hard. Okay. Question 6. Which herb, or spice smells the nicest to you? A, lavender. B, cinnamon. C, nutmeg. Or D, mint. So many other spices, but all right. I agree. And question 7. Which is the best way to travel? A, airplane. B, bicycle. C, helicopter. Or D, train. They should have specified strawberry copter. A, airplane. Okay. And final question. Yeah, especially if it's raining. Question 8. Which insect do you like the most? A, silkworm. B, butterfly. C, ladybug. Or D, a bumblebee. Callie Jo. None. All right. So if you find that predominantly most of your answers are A, you are like Silk. Adventurous and brave, you always think of ways to deal with problems. You enjoy actions and adventures. If you found that most of your answers are B, you are like Rose. You are gentle, kind, and loving. You are good at staying calm, and you love pink things. If you found most of your answers to be C, you are like Barry. Fun, always helpful, with lots of great ideas. You are sensible and wise. And if you found most of your answers to be D, you are like Star. You cheer people up and dazzle with your sparkling ways. You are funny and enjoy jokes and dancing. So who do you think? You have a mix? Okay, I think most of mine were A. I got 4 A's, so I guess I'm Silk. A real mix. I have a mix. See? So I would like to think that that means if you have a mix that you embody many different traits of all the fairies, Silk, Rose, Berry, and Star, which that is powerful. You got real fairies up in there. You got all the stuff. See, I was Silk too. Rose, ooh, okay. Gentle, kind, loving. Right? Man, I'm kind of sad I'm just one now. I want to be all. You had 4 B's, 3 A's, and a C. Okay. 4 B's. So B's is Rose, gentle, kind, and loving. We got lots of roses, lots of silks, and a real hefty mix. I like that. That's awesome. And then I think the last thing in here is a recipe for Super Fairy sugar cookies. It's not a party in Peaseblossom Woods without fairy food. Celebrate the seasons like the Super Fairies and their friends with scrumdiddlyumptious sugar cookies. Sprinkled with pixie dust, these edible fairy wings are the perfect treat to serve at your next fairy tea party. And it tells you everything you need to make fairy food. Isn't that neat? A whole recipe. And I did not think to write this down outside of the book to pass it out. So if anybody wants it, let me know, and I will write it down and I will put it out on Facebook and in the group notice. And of course, it'll be at the end of the video, and I can pass it in note cards too. Please, okay. I will transcribe the. Please, okay. Let's see. Oh, or yeah, I guess you could do that too. I hadn't thought about taking a picture of it. Thanks, comma. You're so fast. I'm going to send it airmail. Okay. You missed it, Shelly. I think you had crashed. There was a situation with a recipe, and I said Walmart. It was the whole thing. And now comma's going to turn it into a gesture. So if anybody wants my Walmart slip-up as a gesture, It'll be made.
Yes.
Oh, yes, please. Well, don't forget to pick up your tokens, and I'm so glad we were able to finally finish out. Oh my goodness, we got one more page left. We can learn a little bit more about the fairies before we flutter off to begin our weekend activities. Are you ready? I'm ready. Yes, then you can tease me. Absolutely. Not that I haven't had my fair share of already silly gestures made of things that I say wrong. Well, I'll explain that in a minute. For now, we're going to finish learning about the the fairies. So, all about fairies. The legend of the fairies is as old as time. Tale as old as time. Okay. Fairy tales tell stories of fairy magic. According to legend, fairies are so small and delicate, they fly so fast that they might actually be all around us, but just very hard to see. Fairies supposedly only reveal themselves to believers. Fairies often dance in circles at sunrise and sunset. They love to play in the woodlands among wildflowers. If you sing gently to them, they may appear. Here are some of the world's famous fairies. The Flower Fairies. Artist Cecily Mary Barker painted a range of pretty flower fairies and published 8 volumes of flower fairy art from 1923. The link between fairies and flowers is very strong. The Tooth Fairy. We all know about the Tooth Fairy. All of us. She visits us during the night to leave a coin when we lose our baby teeth. Although it is very hard to catch sight of her, children are always happy when she makes a visit. And fake fairies. In 1917, cousins Elise Wright and Frances Griffiths said they photographed fairies in their garden. They later admitted that most were fakes, but Frances claimed that one fairy was truly genuine. How interesting. I think it would be real wild to be a tooth fairy. I don't know how I'd feel about that. As long as I didn't have to pull the teeth, it could be a decent job. Although I kind of do want to be a super fairy because I love the concept of like the fruit and the flowers. Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. Right? They might bite with cavities. That's so true. I can't believe we did it, y'all. 4 books throughout the whole month of June. We have finished.
Yes.
The Super Fairies. Woo, woo, woo. Again, if you missed any of them, or you came in late, or you crashed, it will all be up on the YouTube. You can get the link from the group. You can get the link from Facebook, or even right here on the YouTube icon. Again, I'm Miss Red with Kiwi and Lime Storytime, and I'm going to be reading at Care, Nuggets, and my own bog. If you haven't been to the bog yet, oh man, I'm telling you, what an experience. It's just like this, but swampier, boggier. And we got a little room with a calendar set up, so if you don't know where to look for events, I'll always have the calendar on my blog too that you can check in at. And I have some sponsors on the wall that you can click to TP to different sponsors. It ranges from kids' schools to different clothing creators and more. And I really appreciate everybody coming out today to venture into the fairy realm, wearing your wings and your crowns and your wands. And I hope you have an amazing, amazing start to your weekend. And I will see you all very soon. Twinkle Fairy. Twinkle Fairy. Well, bye, everybody. Don't forget to pick up your tokens before they go poof. Thank you for coming. You're welcome. I hope you had a great time.